Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into one of the biggest challenges in fitness, body recomposition. You know, that holy grail of building muscle and losing fat at the same time? We're going to break down the science behind 3 specific supplements that can help you totally rewire your body's default settings to finally make it happen.
So let's start with the big question. Why is this so hard? I mean, if you've ever really tried to change your physique, you've hit this wall. You eat less to lose fat, but you feel like you're also losing all your muscle and strength. Then you eat more to build muscle, and suddenly you're gaining fat you don't want. It really feels like a biological trap, and yeah, it's super frustrating.
And you know what? There's a really good reason it feels that way. Our bodies are running on some seriously old software, a survival program really. It's designed to be in one of 2 modes, either storing energy or using energy. Trying to get it to do both at the same time, that goes against its most basic programming.
But here's where it gets interesting. What if you could actually influence that wiring? What if you could send your body new signals that override that default program? Well, that's exactly what this explainer is all about. We're going to dig into how a few key supplements can create an internal environment where building muscle and burning fat can finally coexist.
Here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll quickly unpack the puzzle itself, then we'll get into the 3 powerful levers you can pull. One for directing your calories, another for flipping the growth switch, and a third for clearing out all the metabolic static. And then we'll put it all together.
All right, first up, the recomposition puzzle. Before we can even talk about fixing the problem, we've got to understand what we're really up against, that default wiring, and why our bodies fight us on this.
You see, deep down, this isn't some kind of bug in our system. It's actually a feature. Think about it. For most of human history, calories were hard to come by. So if you found extra energy, the smartest thing your body could do was sock it away as fat for later. The problem is, in our modern world, that super efficient survival mechanism is now working directly against us.
Okay, that brings us to our very first lever, directing your calories. This one is so cool because it basically acts like a master control switch, telling all the energy you're eating where to go. Should it become fat, or should it be used to build new muscle? And the key player here? High-dose vitamin D. Its power comes from how it messes with 2 really important hormones. On one side, you've got myostatin, which is like the emergency brake for muscle growth. It's constantly telling your body to stop building. And on the other side, you've got leptin, which is kind of like your body's fuel gauge, telling your brain when you're full.
And this is the mic drop moment from a huge 2024 study. Researchers found that when people supplemented with high-dose vitamin D, it fundamentally rerouted how their bodies used extra calories. Instead of just defaulting to fat storage, the body started partitioning that energy, literally shuttling it over to build new muscle tissue instead. How cool is that?
So how in the world does it do that? Well, it's this awesome 1-2 punch. First, vitamin D lowers myostatin, which is like taking the foot off the brake for muscle growth, but at the exact same time, it boosts leptin production, and this is the really important part, leptin sensitivity. It makes your brain way better at hearing that, hey, we're full, we've got enough energy signal.
What this all adds up to is a completely new way of thinking about your body. We're moving beyond just counting calories and worrying about the number on the scale, and into the world of actively controlling your body composition. By using vitamin D to talk to these hormones, you're gaining this powerful tool to help decide where your calories actually go.
All right, so lever 1 pointed all our calories to the right place. Awesome. But that's not enough. For our second lever, we got to tell the construction crew to actually start building, right? We need a direct signal that shouts, okay, people, it is time to grow.
And that, my friends, is where branched-chain amino acids, or BCAAs, jump in. Specifically, one of them, called leucine, acts as this incredible anabolic trigger. It directly fires up something called the M2R pathway, which is, for all intents and purposes, the ignition switch for your body's entire muscle-building factory. And hey, this isn't just theory. We can see it in action. There was a study on older adults who were losing muscle due to age, and after just 5 weeks of taking BCAAs, they saw real, measurable improvements. We're talking more muscle mass, better walking speed, and even stronger grip strength.
But, and this is super important, it's not a one-and-done fix. The study showed that as soon as they stopped taking the BCAAs, all those great benefits started to fade away. What does that tell us? It tells us that this growth switch, it needs to be flipped regularly if you want to keep seeing the results.
Okay, so we're directing calories, we're flipping the growth switch. We should be good to go, right? Well, not quite. Those first 2 levers are amazing, but they can't work properly if the whole system is clogged up with our third and final problem, Metabolic static from chronic inflammation.
The best way to think about this is like background noise. It's static that just messes up all the important signals we've been talking about. It can totally drown out the messages from leptin and MTR, and when your body gets that confused, it just panics and goes back to its old survival program. Store everything as fat.
This quote on a slide just nails the problem. Imagine a smoke alarm is just blaring in your kitchen. That's inflammation. At the same time, a tiny little kitchen timer goes off to tell you you're full. That's leptin. There's no way you're going to hear that tiny timer over the deafening alarm, right? Your brain literally can't hear the "I'm full" message through all that noise.
So how do we clear that static? This is where high-dose fish oil, especially the omega-3s called EPA and DHA, comes in to save the day. It basically acts like a noise-canceling system for your metabolism. It quiets down the inflammatory chemicals, clearing out all that static, and finally allows the signals for muscle growth and fat burning to come through loud and clear.
All right, we have looked at the 3 individual levers. Now for the most important part. Let's bring them all together into one powerful, integrated strategy to make body recomposition a reality.
It really comes down to this simple but incredibly effective sequence. First, you direct your calories toward muscle with high-dose vitamin D. Second, you activate muscle building with BCAAs. And third, you optimize the whole system by using fish oil to create a quiet, low-inflammation environment where everything can work. When you pull these 3 levers together, you create this amazing physiological state that is just primed for gaining muscle and losing fat.
So what this science really gives us is a blueprint. It's a whole new way to think about your body that goes way beyond just calories in versus calories out. It shows us how we can finally start working with our biology instead of constantly fighting against it. You now understand the levers. The only question left is, what will you build?